The conference room smelled like stale coffee and something sharper. Fear, maybe. I sat across from Trina Walsh, our HR head, flanked by two managers whose names I suddenly couldn't remember. My hands were folded on the table, trying to look calm while my heart hammered against my ribs. "Emily," Trina said, sliding a folder toward me without opening it. "We have evidence you approved inventory orders that went missing. Nearly $40,000 worth." The words didn't make sense at first. Like hearing a language you almost recognize but can't quite translate. "What?" "Managed. Missing materials. Your authorization codes. Your responsibility." She leaned back, arms crossed, wearing that smile people use when they've already decided you're guilty. "I need to see the evidence," I said, reaching for the folder. He pulled it back. "That's confidential during an active investigation." My stomach dropped. "You're accusing me without showing proof." "We're informing you of the situation," she corrected smoothly. "Consider this a formal warning." I stood up, chair scraping loud against the floor. My legs felt unsteady, but I walked out anyway, shaking, realizing something terrifying. Someone was setting me up. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the meeting, searching for sense in the madness. Then I remembered something from 3 months earlier. Started small. A box of electrical components missing from the supply room. Then another. Then 5 boxes of specialty wire. I noticed because I tracked inventory for our manufacturing projects. It was part of my job as procurement coordinator. I'd reported it to Trina directly, typing a careful email with dates and missing item codes. Professional. Factual. Not accusatory. Her response came within minutes. Too fast, I realized now. "Noted. We'll look into it. Thanks, Emily." No follow-up. No investigation. No questions. I'd assumed she handled it quietly. But sitting in my dark apartment, staring at the ceiling, a different possibility emerged. What if she'd dismissed it so quickly because she already knew where those materials went? What if my report made me dangerous? The thought kept me awake until dawn. The atmosphere at work changed like weather before a storm. Subtle at first, then unmistakable. Co-workers who usually chatted at my desk suddenly had urgent tasks elsewhere. Brett, a project manager I'd worked with for 2 years, removed me from our weekly planning meeting without explanation. Just sent a calendar update. Meeting restructured. When I asked why, he looked uncomfortable. Just temporary. Management decision. But his eyes wouldn't meet mine. In the break room, conversations stopped when I entered. People studied their phones with sudden fascination. I wasn't paranoid. This was real, deliberate exclusion. Thursday afternoon, I returned from lunch to find a post-it note stuck under my keyboard. The handwriting was rushed, almost panicked. "Be careful." No name. No context. Just those 2 words in blue ink. I looked around the office. Everyone seemed absorbed in work, faces toward monitors, fingers typing. But someone had been at my desk. Someone knew something. And they were scared enough to warn me but too frightened to do it openly. I caught him in the parking garage after work. Kyle from accounting, mid-20s, always friendly but quiet. I'd seen him glance at my desk earlier with that guilty look people get when they know something they shouldn't. "Kyle, wait." He froze, keys already in his hand. "Emily, I can't." "Was it you?" "The note." His face answered before his mouth did. "I shouldn't have done that. If they find out." "Who's they?" I stepped closer. "What's happening?" He looked over his shoulder at the empty garage, then whispered fast like ripping off a bandage. "Someone's been blaming you for things. Behind your back. In meetings you're not in. Trina's leading it, but she's not alone." My chest tightened. "Blaming me for what?" "I don't know all of it." "But Emily." He swallowed hard. "They're scared of what you'll find." "Find what?" But he was already walking away, practically jogging to his car. The engine started, and he was gone, leaving me standing under fluorescent lights with more questions than answers. I spent that evening doing what I should have done weeks ago. digging through my email archives, searching for anything unusual. First nothing. Then I noticed something strange in a thread from 2 months back. The participants list showed my name added at 9:47 a.m., then removed at 9:48 a.m. 1 minute. Someone had included me in a conversation, then thought better of it. The subject line read, Q3 supplier adjustments. I clicked through the messages, but there were gaps. References to an attachment that no longer existed. Per the document Emily reviewed. But I'd never reviewed any document. I'd barely been on that email for 60 seconds. My hands were shaking as I opened the deleted items folder. Sometimes things hide there, forgotten. And there it was. Supplier_agreement _draft_3.pdf. I held my breath and clicked recover. The file opened. Pages of procurement terms, vendor contracts, delivery schedules. And on page 7, a signature line with my name printed underneath. But I'd never seen this document. Never signed anything. Someone had tried to make it look like I had. The document was damning. A material order for $60,000 worth of components, scheduled for delivery to an address I didn't recognize. The requisition form showed my login credentials, my employee ID, my digital signature. But the timestamp was impossible. The order was placed on August 14th at 11:30 p.m. I pulled up my calendar. That was the night of my sister's birthday dinner. I'd been at a restaurant 30 miles away, my phone full of photos proving it. I wasn't even in the city, let alone logged into the company system. Someone had used my credentials when I wasn't there. I studied the signature section carefully. The handwriting style on the approval notes matched something I'd seen before. Precise loops, aggressive slashes on the capital letters. I pulled up old emails from Trina. Compared her scanned signatures from expense reports. The match wasn't perfect, but it was close. Very close. My stomach turned cold. This wasn't just about framing me for missing inventory. This was about something much bigger. And Trina wasn't just investigating it. She was part of it. Monday morning I requested a meeting with Trina. Professional. I brought a printed copy of the timestamp discrepancy. I need you to pull the IT login logs, I said, sliding the paper across her desk. This order was placed when I wasn't even in the building. Someone used my credentials. She barely glanced at it. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. Emily, IT already confirmed everything. Your login, your authorization, your responsibility. When did IT confirm this? Last week. I want to speak with them directly. Her smile thinned. That's not necessary. This matter is handled through HR. But if there's a security breach. There isn't. She stood up, signaling the meeting was over. I suggest you focus on your current projects and stop trying to shift blame. I left her office and walked straight to the IT department. Found Derek, the senior systems administrator, who'd helped me reset passwords before. Derek, did anyone from HR contact you about my login activity? He looked confused. Your login? Oh. Why? You didn't pull access logs from my account last week? Emily, nobody's requested that. What's going on? Trina had lied. Directly. Confidently. And I finally understood. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a cover-up. Cal found me in the stairwell during lunch. He looked nervous, kept glancing at the door. I heard something, he whispered. 2 executives in the conference room. They didn't know I was in the copy room next door. What did they say? Something about a supplier deal. One of them said, "We cannot afford to mess this up. Too much riding on it." My pulse quickened. Did they mention specifics? No, but... He hesitated. They mentioned your name. Said you'd been removed from the oversight committee. I hadn't been on any oversight committee. Or had I? That afternoon I searched through procurement files I still had access to. Buried in a subfolder, I found supplier invoices from the last quarter. The numbers felt wrong. Inconsistent. Then I saw it. A contract reference number I didn't recognize. When I searched for it in the system, access was denied. But in the metadata I caught a glimpse. Supplier agreement. $1.2 million. $1.2 million. And I'd been removed from the project right before it finalized. Whatever this deal was, someone wanted me far away from it. I stayed late that night, alone in the office, piecing it together like a puzzle made of shadows. The missing materials I'd reported. The altered documents with my forged signature. The fake negligence claim from HR. The mysterious $1 million supplier contract I'd been excluded from. It wasn't random. It was coordinated. They needed someone to blame if things went wrong. Scapegoat. So they created a pattern of negligence, using my credentials, building a case that I was careless, that I'd approved bad orders, that I couldn't be trusted. And when the deal went through, if auditors or executives asked questions, they'd point to me. The person who'd already been disciplined. The person with a file full of mistakes. Except I hadn't made any mistakes. They had. I opened my project management folder to review my original notes from when I'd been assigned to vendor evaluation. The folder was empty. Completely wiped. My files. My documentation. My emails. All the records proving I'd been competent, careful, thorough. Someone with system access had deleted everything. And I knew exactly who had that authority. The freeze-out intensified. Management reassigned my major projects to other coordinators. Reduced my workload to basic data entry. Moved my desk from the open floor to a corner near the storage closet. Away from everyone. Classic quiet firing tactics. Make the job so miserable you quit on your own. Trina stopped by my new desk Wednesday afternoon. Heels clicking on linoleum. "How are you adjusting?" she asked with fake concern. "Fine. You know, Emily, sometimes a change of scenery helps. Have you considered looking at other opportunities?" There it was. The suggestion wrapped in kindness. "Are you asking me to resign?" "Of course not. Just thinking about what might be best for your career growth." She walked away, leaving the implication hanging in the air like smoke. They wanted me gone before I could expose anything. Before I could defend myself. Before anyone listened. That night I broke down. Cried in my car for 20 minutes. Feeling the weight of injustice crushing my chest. Then I dried my eyes, went home and made a decision. I wouldn't be destroyed quietly. I'd gather proof, secure a new job, then reveal the truth the right way. Thickly. Carefully. I ordered an external hard drive online. It would arrive in 2 days. The drive arrived Friday. Small, encrypted, password protected. I stayed late again, copying everything I could legally access. Emails I'd sent. Procurement logs that were still visible. Timestamp records. Metadata showing file modifications. I wasn't stealing proprietary information. I was preserving evidence of my own work, my own communications, proof I'd done nothing wrong. Every document I saved felt like a small act of resistance. Then I found something unexpected. A hidden folder in the shared drive, buried under layers of subfolders labeled with random number codes. Supplier_adjustments_internal. Clicked it. Dozens of files. Spreadsheets tracking payments to vendors I'd never heard of. Contracts with unusual terms. Invoices that didn't match purchase orders. Copied everything. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might burst. This wasn't just about framing me anymore. This was evidence of something much worse. Financial irregularities. Possibly fraud. And I'd stumbled right into the middle of it. Saturday morning, I analyzed the files at home. Spreadsheets showing repeated payments to a consulting firm called Apex Advisory Solutions. The amounts varied, but they appeared monthly. Always just under the threshold requiring executive approval. 15,000 here. 12,000 there. Over 6 months, it added up to nearly $90,000. I searched for Apex Advisory online. The website was generic. Stock photos, vague language about business optimization and procurement efficiency. No real client testimonials. No staff directory. Then I found the business registration. Filed 8 months ago. Registered agent, Marcus Walsh. Walsh. The same last name as Trina. I dug deeper. Social media, public records, LinkedIn connections. Marcus Walsh was Trina's cousin. And Apex Advisory Solutions was a shell company. The pattern was clear now. Create a fake consulting firm, approve payments to it through the procurement system, pocket the money. And when someone like me started noticing irregularities, frame them for negligence to discredit any future accusations. My hands trembled as I saved copies to 3 different locations. This was bigger than workplace politics. This was criminal. Monday I kept my head down. Did normal. But inside I was planning. That afternoon someone unexpected approached my desk. Dana from senior accounting, late 50s, always professional. Rarely spoke to anyone outside her department. Emily, can we talk privately? We went to the parking garage again. Apparently, it was becoming my office for honest conversations. Dana looked around carefully before speaking. I've seen the same red flags you probably have. Invoices that don't match. Payments to vendors that barely exist. My breath caught. You know, I've suspected for months. But I was scared to speak up. Trina has connections with upper management. She could destroy careers. Dana pulled a folded paper from her purse. But after what they're doing to you, I can't stay silent. She handed me a printed ledger showing altered financial entries. Line items changed after initial approval. Amounts adjusted. Dates modified. Someone's been cooking the books, Dana said quietly. And they're using your credentials to do it. I stared at the document, feeling validation and horror simultaneously. I wasn't crazy. This was real. And now I had an ally. Thank you, I whispered. Dana squeezed my shoulder. Bring them down. The right way. That evening my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Hello. Is this Emily Carter? Professional voice. Confident. Yes. My name is Jordan Price. I'm the hiring manager at Brennan Industries. Your name came highly recommended by someone in the industry. We have an opening for a senior procurement analyst. And I'd love to discuss it with you. I nearly dropped the phone. I hadn't applied anywhere. Hadn't sent my resume. Hadn't told anyone I was looking. I'm sorry, who recommended me? I'm not at liberty to say, but they spoke very highly of your attention to detail and integrity. Integrity. That word hit different after the last few weeks. I'd be very interested, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Wonderful. Are you available for an interview Wednesday at 2? Yes. Absolutely. After we hung up I just sat there stunned. Someone was helping me. Someone saw what was happening and decided to intervene. Maybe Dana. Maybe Kyle. Maybe someone I didn't even know was watching. For the first time in weeks, hope felt possible. Tuesday morning, Trina called me into her office again. A second disciplinary meeting. This time her expression was harder. Emily, we've received complaints about your attitude. Combative. Uncooperative. Resistant to feedback. From who? That's confidential. This is my second warning in 2 weeks. And you won't tell me who's complaining or show me evidence. See, this is exactly the problem. Your defensiveness. My jaw clenched. This was escalation. They were building a termination case. Yes. I want a written copy of these complaints. That's not company policy during an active review. Then I want to speak with your supervisor. I am the supervisor of HR, Emily. There's no one above me in this process. She was lying again. The director of operations oversaw HR. But she was betting I wouldn't push back. That I'd crumble under pressure. Instead I stood up. Then I'll be consulting with an employment attorney about these procedures. Her face went pale for just a second. Then the mask returned. That's your right. But I'd reconsider before making this adversarial. I walked out. My hands were shaking, but my resolve wasn't. That night I made copies of everything. Saved files to 3 separate external drives. Gave one to my sister. Mailed one to myself at my parents' address. Kept one locked in my apartment. If they fired me suddenly, if they tried to delete everything, if they claimed I'd stolen data, I had backups. Multiple, distributed, time-stamped backups. At 9:47 p.m. my phone buzzed. Text from Dana. You need to see this. Tomorrow morning. Coffee shop on 5th Street. 7 a.m. Texted back. I'll be there. Sleep came in fragments. I kept waking up, checking the time, wondering what Dana had found. At 6:30 a.m., I gave up and drove to the coffee shop early. Ordered tea I didn't drink. Waited. Dana arrived at 6:55, looking like she hadn't slept either. She slid a folder across the table. I found this in the executive archive. Printed it before anyone noticed. Inside was an email chain. 3 executives and Trina. Subject: Emily Carter situation. One message made my blood freeze. Make sure Emily never sees that deal. She'll kill it. Written by the VP of Operations. Sent 6 weeks ago. Right before they started framing me. They knew. They knew I'd catch the fraud if I saw the real numbers. The interview Wednesday was surreal. Professional building, warm lighting, people who smiled genuinely. Jordan Price asked smart questions about process improvement and vendor evaluation. I answered honestly, drawing on experience I'd earned through competence, not politics. Your references are exceptional, Jordan said near the end. We'd like to move forward quickly. How soon could you start? I'd need to give 2 weeks' notice. Of course. We'll send an offer letter by Friday. Walking out, I felt something I'd almost forgotten. Respect. The kind you get when people value your skills instead of fearing your integrity. I had an exit path now. Clean, professional, deserved. That evening I drafted my resignation letter. Simple. Gracious. Gave no indication of what I knew or what I planned to do. But before I sent it, I checked the company calendar. The annual external audit was scheduled in 12 days. Smiled. Timing, as they say, was everything. I submitted my resignation Thursday morning. Walked into Trina's office, handed her the printed letter, and watched her face shift from surprise to something like relief. Well, she said, barely hiding a smirk. I'm sorry to see you go, Emily. But I respect your decision to pursue other opportunities. She thought I was running away. Humiliated. Defeated. Exactly what they wanted. Thank you for the experience, I said with a straight face. Your last day will be 2 weeks from today. Please ensure all projects are transitioned properly. Of course. I returned to my desk, and for the rest of the day I was the model of professionalism. Organized handoff documents. Responded to emails promptly. Smiled politely. But that evening I sent a carefully worded email to the external audit firm. Not accusing anyone. Not making claims. Simply offering my availability to answer questions about procurement procedures during my tenure. I'll be transitioning out of the company, but I'm happy to provide clarity on any documentation discrepancies if needed during your review. Professional. Helpful. Innocent. The lead auditor responded within an hour. Thank you, Emily. We may take you up on that. The trap was set. Now I just had to wait. The next week moved in slow motion. I came to work, completed minimal tasks, counted down days. Co-workers who'd avoided me for weeks suddenly wanted to chat. We'll miss you, Emily. Good luck with your new job. You're so brave for moving on. Brave. As if I'd had a choice. Friday afternoon, Carl stopped by my desk. I'm glad you're getting out, he whispered. Me too. For what it's worth, some of us knew this wasn't right. We just didn't know how to help. You helped more than you think. He nodded and walked away. Most people aren't evil. They're just scared. And fear makes cowards of everyone sometimes. Monday of my final week, I noticed increased activity in the executive wing. Closed doors. Hushed conversations. Someone from legal visited, which was unusual. Tuesday morning an email went out. External auditors will be on site Wednesday through Friday. Please have all relevant documentation available for review. I watched Trina's face across the office. The color drained like water from a glass. The reckoning was coming. Wednesday the auditors arrived. 3 of them carrying tablets and serious expressions. They set up in the large conference room, and by noon they were requesting files. Procurement logs, vendor contracts, authorization records, payment histories. Management moved like ants when you disturb their hill. Frantic, purposeful, terrified. I was called in Thursday afternoon. One of the auditors, an older woman named Patricia, gestured to a chair. Ms. Carter, we have some questions about procurement procedures during Q2 and Q3. Of course. She pulled up documents on her laptop. We found several irregularities. Orders placed outside normal business hours. Signatures that don't match handwriting samples. Payments to vendors with minimal verification. I reported missing inventory months ago, I said calmly. HR was notified. Do you have documentation of that report? I pulled out my phone and forwarded her the original email. Sent to Trina Walsh on June 7th. No follow-up was ever conducted. Patricia made notes. We also found evidence that your login credentials were used to authorize orders when building access logs show you weren't on premises. Yes, I noticed that too. I requested IT investigate, but HR claimed they'd already confirmed everything, which IT later told me was false. More notes. Do you have evidence of this? I opened my laptop connected to my external drive and pulled up the files I'd legally preserved. Emails, timestamps, logs showing file deletions, the hidden folder with suspicious payments. I saved copies of my work communications and procurement records before my access was restricted, I explained carefully. I wanted to ensure I could defend myself against false accusations. Patricia's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes sharpened. Recognition. Understanding. Thank you, Ms. Carter. This is very helpful. Friday morning the atmosphere was apocalyptic. Executives were pulled into back-to-back meetings. Legal was on site again. Whispers spread through cubicles like wildfire. They're investigating financial irregularities. Someone's in serious trouble. I heard it involves procurement fraud. At 11:30 a.m., Trina was called into the executive conference room. She walked past my desk without looking at me, face rigid. She didn't come back out for 3 hours. When she finally emerged, her professional mask was completely shattered. Eyes red, hands shaking. A security guard walked beside her. They escorted her to her office, watched her pack a box, then walked her out the front entrance. The entire floor went silent. Then the whispers exploded. Kyle appeared at my desk. What just happened? I think the truth just happened, I said quietly. He grinned. Good. The following Monday, what would have been my actual last day, I received an email from the Director of Operations. Ms. Carter, in light of recent findings from our external audit, we owe you a formal apology. The accusations made against you were completely unfounded and stemmed from fraudulent activity conducted by former personnel. Your name has been fully cleared, and we would welcome the opportunity to discuss your continued employment with our organization. I read it twice, 3 times, letting the vindication sink in. They discovered everything. The fake consulting company, the altered records, kickback scheme, Trina's involvement, the systematic cover-up. The audit report was still being finalized, but preliminary findings were damning. Nearly $200,000 in fraudulent payments over 18 months. Forged authorizations. Deleted files. And my name used as a scapegoat for all of it. But I'd already accepted Brennan Industries' offer. Already signed the contract. Already planned my new beginning. I replied professionally. Thank you for the apology and clarification. However, I've accepted another position and will be moving forward as planned. I wish the company success in rebuilding trust and accountability. Blight. Final. My first day at Brennan Industries felt like stepping into sunlight after months in shadows. People introduced themselves genuinely. My workspace had a window. My manager outlined clear expectations and welcomed my input. During lunch, Jordan sat with me. I want you to know the person who recommended you called me personally. They said you were facing false accusations but that your integrity was unquestionable. They were right. Who was it? Dana from accounting. She used to work here years ago. She called in a favor. Dana, course. She'd helped me escape while she could. That afternoon I received another email. From my former company. Official letterhead. Legal department. Dear Ms. Carter, after completion of our internal audit, we confirm that you were wrongfully accused and that no disciplinary actions on your record are valid. All documentation has been expunged. We deeply regret the treatment you received and the harm it caused. They attached a formal clearance letter. Something I could use if future employers ever asked about my departure. It was over. Officially. Completely. My name restored. A week later my personal email pinged. The address looked vaguely familiar. When I opened it my breath caught. It was from Trina. Not her work email. Personal account. Emily, I know you have no reason to read this, but I need to say it. I made terrible choices. I was desperate, in debt. And I let that desperation turn me into someone I'm ashamed of. What I did to you was unforgivable. I destroyed your reputation to protect myself. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that you were right about everything. And I'm sorry. The message continued. She'd been fired, was facing criminal charges for fraud and embezzlement, and her career was over. She was begging me for a character reference, claiming she wanted to rebuild her life. I read it 3 times. Part of me felt pity. Part of me felt anger. Part of me just felt tired. Finally I replied, Trina, I appreciate your apology. I hope you get the help you need and find a path forward. However, I cannot provide a character reference. I wish you the best in your journey, but our professional relationship ended with significant harm that I'm still processing. Take care. I hit send, then deleted her email. 3 months into my new job, I sat in my apartment on a Saturday morning, coffee in hand, watching rain streak down the window. My phone buzzed. An article notification. Former HR director sentenced in corporate fraud case. Clicked it. Trina had pleaded guilty. 18 months in prison, restitution payments, probation. The article mentioned Apex Advisory Solutions, the kickback scheme, the falsified documents. Mention me too. A former employee whose timely cooperation with auditors helped expose the fraud. I closed the article and set my phone down. Justice had come. Not perfectly. Not completely. But it came. I thought about all the moments I'd almost given up. The nights I cried. The days I questioned whether speaking up was worth the cost. It was. 'Cause I won the right way. No revenge plots. No sabotage. Just truth, carefully documented and ethically revealed. I'd lost a job but kept my integrity. I'd been framed but cleared my name. I'd been silenced but found my voice. And now, sitting in my peaceful apartment with rain falling outside, I understood something profound. Winning isn't about destroying the people who hurt you. It's about refusing to let them destroy you. Trina had tried to erase me. Instead, she erased herself. And I was still here. Stronger. Wiser. Free. I closed my laptop, finished my coffee and smiled. The truth had won. And sometimes that's the best ending possible.